That's a good sign. Twitch is live. Hello to everyone on Twitch, and is the YouTube's live? Oh, YouTube's live. What's up, guys? What is up? Hope you're all doing good, guys. Hope you're all having a good day. How is everyone, man? Everyone doing all right? Saturday night. It's about an hour and a half before UFC Fight Night. Brunson Holland starts, so it's time to talk about some lab bets, man. Thank you very much to everyone that still hit the like button on this video. What's funny is, this week, I usually say, like, you know, hit the like button, we get X amount of likes, I'll do a prop bet live stream this weekend. This week we didn't have that. I was just like, fuck it, I'll do a prop bet live stream anyway, since I let you guys down last week. And this week video had more likes than usual, so shout out to everyone, man. Thank you very much, and hopefully we can repay you by making a decent little profit on these props tonight. That would be quite good. So this month has been a bit of a great one for prop bets. So up about, how much would this be? 39.38, take away 17.88. So this month we're up about 21 units on these props, which is quite impressive. A lot of that was down to last week's results, so hopefully we can keep it going. But obviously the nature of props is that they are extremely risky. So I've got all kinds of disclaimers on this, you know, on this webpage, on my website for the prop bets, just letting you guys know, don't go too crazy on these. These bets are extremely risky. So my win rate on all other kind of bets that I place, you know, over-unders, you know, straight up bets on fighters to win or lose, or live bets, my win rate on those kind of bets is pretty good. On live bets is fucking excellent. But the problem with prop bets is I take a completely different approach to prop bets. So with the other kind of bets that I do, I'm looking to bet usually on the most likely outcome and bets that have a really high probability of hitting. That's not the approach that I take to prop bets. So with prop bets, I'm looking to take that shotgun approach, kind of like the same sort of strategy you'll see people use on roulette, where if you were to play roulette and you were to put all your money on 13 black, and on the spin of the wheel the ball were to land on any other number, you would lose your bet, right? Whereas if you spread your money out over lots of different numbers, you have more of a chance of getting a return, because there's more chance that the ball will land on a number you've put money down on. It's kind of the approach we take with props. We're not betting on the most likely outcome. We're betting on lots of bets that have a reasonably good chance of winning, that have a very good risk to reward ratio. Hopefully, overall, at the end of the day, end up making a profit. So for every event, I may have 7, 8, 9, 10 props, something like that. My goal is, if I hit one of them, I'll probably be at a small loss. If I hit two, I'll probably be around break even, maybe a small loss, maybe a small profit. If I hit 3 or more, I'm going to be at a very good profit, which is obviously what happened last week when we made 17 units. So the point being, with this kind of bet, because the win rate is very low and we're just looking to kind of hit those small number of bets that have got a really big risk to reward ratio, you can easily get weeks where every single one of these bets loses. Now that hasn't happened for a while, but just to put it into perspective for you, I'm not coming out with these prop bets to try and win every bet or, you know, bank a profit every week. I'm just looking to put my money in situations with a great risk to reward ratio and trust that over the long term that'll return a profit. Of course, the difference between the spin of a roulette wheel and this strategy that we use for prop bets is obviously we have the edge because we do an insane amount of fight research every week, and so our knowledge of MMA, our ability to gamble effectively, is what gives us the edge and enables us to make a profit. And you can see that over the last 2 years, since we started tracking prop bet results back in February 2019, we are up about 40 units, average profit of about 20 units per year. It's not bad, it's not an amazing return, but any kind of profit that you can grind out in gambling is a massive achievement. You know, floating around break even in gambling is a massive achievement, since most people lose their ass. So this is a number that is to be very proud of, man, and hopefully we can keep it going tonight. But the one thing about prop bets, and you see it here with all the disclaimers, is, you know, prop bets are very volatile. Tons of variance, massive upswings, massive downswings. That's what kind of categorizes prop bets, but over the long term, very strong trend line. 40 units of profit, can't go wrong. So, what I would also say is, I want to make it very clear that obviously we're not betting on the most likely outcomes, because generally speaking, when we bet on the most likely outcomes, the odds aren't great, right? So, for example, you know, if you look at the Max Griffin versus Kenan fight tonight, right? What's the most likely outcome? Most likely outcome is for Max Griffin to win by decision. But the odds on that are not even evens, not even a plus 100 1-to-1 return. So risk-reward ratio is very bad. If you're trying to bet the most likely outcome on this fight, you would take Griffin by decision. But that's not the kind of way we roll, because it's hard enough to make money betting on MMA when you're focusing on who's going to win or lose a fight. It becomes exceptionally difficult when you add another layer of variability in it, and you start to have to try and win based on betting specific outcomes. That's why I try and play to the I try and kind of play a little bit to the variance in MMA. It's a crazy sport. Lots of crazy stuff happens. And so I try to profit from that by placing props that are not the most likely, but props that do still have a reasonably good chance of winning, for the reasons that I'll explain as we go through them. And again, it is important to realise or recognise that, you know, personally I take MMA betting very seriously. It's what I do for a living. And so, you know, when I live stream my research for these fights, or I put out breakdown videos, or I talk to you guys in the chat rooms on my website about these fights, I take it very seriously. And for me, you know, every single conversation or interaction I have over MMA or piece of content I put out is as serious as a fucking heart attack. I take this dead serious. And, you know, it's why I'm so opinionated and stubborn on my perspectives on MMA, because I put so much work in. I think I'm right basically all the time. But it is important just to remember that prop bets, you know, they are fun. You could bet a little bit of money and earn a really big reward, right? And we've got to remember that some people bet on MMA for fun. Gambling's a form of entertainment. Entire cities were built on gambling being a form of entertainment, right? Gambling is entertainment. You know, Macau, Las Vegas, Atlantic City, they were built for entertainment. And so, throughout the week, I take gambling very, very serious. I take betting on MMA very, very serious. It's my job. But these prop bets are, you know, where we can loosen up a bit, have a little bit of fun, and place some bets that may not be the smartest, may not return a great profit long term. But what it does do is make watching the fights a little bit more interesting, a little bit more fun for people that aren't here to take gambling super seriously, and they just want to kind of place some bets on a weekend and, you know, make the fights a little bit more interesting by having a parlay and stuff. So these bets are not serious bets. They still produce a profit, but obviously just want to get that out the way. Okay, let's get into it. Let's go. Right, so the first prop that I'm going to recommend. Oh, it is also worth noting, a lot of people ask me, this is the last thing I'm going to say before we get into these props. A lot of people ask me all week, are you doing props? Are you doing props? Are you doing props? I do props every week. So I start posting prop bets to my website from Monday, alright? So some of these props have been on my website since Monday. If you want to see them, you just go to the lab, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and you'll see prop bets there. So you don't have to wait for the prop bet live streams to get these props. I'm only saying that because if you look in here, point number 8 about prop liquidity being very low, what that means is that because the max bet limits and liquidity on these prop bets is very low, you'll see massive spreads and differences in the odds from one betting site to the next. So one betting site might have a prop at 7.0, one might have it at 10.0, which is like plus 600 to plus 900. And on top of that, you know, throughout the week, odds will move a lot on these props. So just to let you guys know, the way I do props to keep things simple, I just look at whatever odds are available on 5 dimes at the time I go to place a prop bet, or at the time I go to post a prop bet on the website. Whatever odds are on 5 dimes, that's the odds I put in. And throughout the week, that'll change a lot because the odds will move. And, you know, those odds might differ from the odds you have on your betting site. You might get better odds, you might get worse odds, okay? So just want to make that clear, because some of these bets have literally been on the website since Monday. So the odds are likely to have moved a lot. So if I say, Bruno Silva to win by knockout or TKO at 6.50, and then you go and check your website now and it's 3.50, I'm really sorry, man, but this was a bet that was probably put on the site like a week ago, and odds move a lot. But you might go to your betting site and Bruno Silva to win by knockout or TKO might be 8.50. Do you know what I mean? It swings both ways. Just for simplicity, this is the way I do it. So first prop, Bruno Silva versus JP Buys. I'm going with Bruno Silva to win by knockout or TKO at odds of 6.50. Again, I don't feel this is the most likely outcome on this fight, but I do feel that it's got a reasonably good risk to reward ratio in the odds. So if we look at Bruno Silva's record, 10-5-2, doesn't have that many wins by knockout. A lot of his wins, or a lot of his fights, since he came off the Ultimate Fighter, have gone the distance. However, what I can tell you about Bruno Silva is that he moves very well, and he's a very, very good boxer. Fast hands, extremely technical, and also making big improvements from fight to fight. I'm very impressed with this guy's boxing. So, with JP Buys being quite a low-level striker, quite a basic striker, if this fight stays standing, Silva's going to be able to cause Buys a lot of trouble. Now, we haven't seen a lot of Buys over the last sort of, 2 years. I couldn't find this fight to watch online. This one here against Lethando Biko. And so really, we haven't seen Buys go the distance since he fought Gamzat Magomedov back in 2018. He did slow down a lot in that fight. And I think if he slows down in this fight, with how dangerous Bruno Silva is standing, there is a big risk to JP Buys that Bruno Silva can inflict major damage standing when Buys starts to get too tired to drag Silva to the ground. And if that happens, Buys will be at significant risk of being knocked out. Having said that, back when he fought Magomedov back in 2018, he only would have been 22 years old. And Magomedov is a really strong grappler himself. So he made JP Buys work much harder in grappling positions than Bruno Silva will likely be able to. So I'm taking a shot on Bruno Silva here by knockout or TKO because he definitely has a huge advantage over Buys striking. He's making big improvements from fight to fight. It's a cage fight to the death, so knockouts are always possible, right? And on top of that, Buys has slowed down quite a bit the last time we saw him go deep in a fight. And while his gas tank may have improved a lot, because, like I say, he was only 22 back then, if he does slow down round about the midway point of round 2, like he did against Magomedov, he's going to be in big trouble standing because of how dangerous Silva is. So I like Silva to win by knockout or TKO. I think there's great value at 6.50 plus 550. On to the next one. Okay, the next one. Jesse Strader against Montel Jackson. I'm going to go for Montel Jackson to win by submission at odds of 7.0 plus 650. So the reason why I like Montel Jackson to win by submission, obviously, when you think of Montel Jackson's style of fighting, he very much looks like a striker, right? Long, rangy striker. But he actually has a base in grappling. He was an alternate on the Olympic United States wrestling team. And the guy is just a very, very high-level grappler. Hasn't won many fights by submission. If you look at his record in his 11 pro fights, he's only won one fight by submission against Brian Kelleher. However, Jesse Strader is a guy who has a style very similar to Jessica Andrade. So he comes out the gate very aggressive, gets in his opponent's face, pressures him, forces him under the back foot, and just wings these big, wide looping hooks at him. Like, he throws massive power punches from the hip. But because he has that inefficient style of fighting where he loads up on every punch, he tends to slow down a lot in the second round of his fights. But the thing about Jesse Strader is that he's tough as nails. He's a real tough guy. There's no quit in him. And even when he gets very tired, he's still scrappy as hell. So what you'll often notice about guys like this is when you're really, really tough and, you get tired, it's kind of like mentally you don't want to give up. Mentally you want to keep fighting and you want to win. But because your body is tired, because you're tired, you can't kind of do what your mind desires. And so when you put a guy like Jesse Strader in bad positions, because of how tough they are, they will try and fight through that bad position to their last breath, which can make guys like Jesse Strader difficult to knock out, difficult to finish with strikes, because, you know, if you drop him, you jump on top of him, you try and get him out of there with ground and pound, he's going to be trying to fight through those positions till his last breath. You literally have to turn his lights off in order to finish a guy like this. You have to knock him out cold. Whereas when it comes to submissions, obviously, no matter how tough Strader is, you know, if Jackson sinks in a really deep dash choke or a head and arm choke, or takes his back, catches him in a rear naked choke, it doesn't matter how tough Strader is, if he gets put to sleep, he's going to be submitted. And so that's why I really like Jackson to win by submission here, because he is a very high level grappler, and while he does prefer to strike, because Strader's so tough, if Jackson wants to get a finish here and wants to give himself a chance of a 50k bonus, submitting Strader may be the best way to do it. So the most likely outcome is probably most likely outcome is probably Jackson to win by knockout or TKO. But because Strader's so tough, he's not going to make it easy for Jackson to get that TKO. So a nice little bet. It's not as good as the knockout or TKO, but a bet that's almost as nice. Jackson to win by submission. I like it. Very nice odds. Next one. Roman Dolidze against Trevin Giles. So at the beginning of this live stream, I was kind of preaching about how, you know, I don't like to bet the most likely outcomes usually, because usually the most likely outcomes when it comes to prop bets don't carry the best risk to reward ratio. I'll make an exception in this case and take Trevin Giles to win by knockout or TKO. Trevin Giles to win by decision at 3.0 plus 250. The reason why I really like this prop bet is because both guys kind of share the same weakness, but for very different reasons. So Roman Dolidze and Trevin Giles are two fighters that are just very, very low volume fighters. They don't do a lot. They are very gun shy. They don't pull the trigger very much. They're just not very aggressive. Just very low volume styles of fighters. They do this for very different reasons. Dolidze is a very low volume style of fighter because he has a bad gas tank. So Dolidze can't throw a high volume of strikes. He can't work really hard or else he'll gas himself out. So that's the reason why Dolidze has a very low volume style. Trevin Giles has a very low volume style because, you know, from my perspective, I'm just making assumptions, but he does work full time as a police officer in the Houston Police Department. He is quite inexperienced in his, in his MMA career. And so I think Giles has a low volume style of fighting because he lacks confidence. And what you'll quite often see with Dolidze and Giles is just long periods of inactivity in their fights when not a lot happens. And so the probability of this fight going the distance is quite high because what you get from both Dolidze and Giles is long periods in their fight when nothing happens, 2-3 minute breaks where neither guy really does anything. And of course, when you have two guys that are very passive and neither guy wants to lead, you know, minutes can disappear off the clock and you can get closer and closer to a fight going the distance. The reason why I lean towards Trevin Giles to win by decision is because Giles has a really good gas tank. He can fight at a high pace for 3 rounds without slowing down, whereas Dolidze's gas tank is really bad. And Giles is the slightly busier fighter. I would say out of the two, Giles has a slightly higher output. But that can be negated because Dolidze is a much better grappler than Giles. So, you know, it's not, you know, I'm not confident in Giles or anything like that. I certainly wouldn't bet Giles to win this fight. But as prop bets go, you know, I do think Giles to win by decision at 3.50 plus 250 is pretty good value. On to the next one. Macy Chiasson against Marion Reneau. So I'm going to go for Marion Reneau to win by decision at odds of 5.0, which is plus 400. So you don't need to be a rocket scientist to know that a big percentage of women's MMA fights tend to go the distance, right? So if ever you see a women's MMA fight and it looks like, you know, there's a good chance that it's going to be competitive, you know, it's not a bad idea to take the underdog if the odds on them to win the decision is very, very generous. And I do think Marion Reneau to win by decision at 5.0 plus 400 is very generous here. Obviously, in terms of X factors, the odds are stacked against her. If we just bring their records up, she's 43 years old. Obviously, that makes her the second oldest fighter in the UFC behind Alexei Olenek, and this is a young person's game. At 43 years old, Father Time is going to come knocking for Reneau pretty hard pretty soon, and she did show a lot of signs of decline in her last fight against Raquel Pennington. On top of that, Macy Chiasson is the biggest fighter in the bantamweight division, women's bantamweight division, at 5'11" with a 72-inch reach. She's absolutely huge, so she's much bigger than Reneau. So, in terms of X factors, Reneau has got a lot to overcome, but Macy Chiasson is a fighter who seems to have lost her way a little bit over the last few years. When she first won the Ultimate Fighter and came into the UFC as a featherweight, she looked strong, physically imposing, aggressive, very heavy for top position, very, very nasty, physically imposing ground game. And she looked devastating against Pannie Kianzad, Gina Mazzani, and Sarah Miraz. She really looked like she could be, a threat to Amanda Nunes even, a genuinely huge, featherweight with great gas tank, tough, reasonably good everywhere, strong grappling. But for whatever reason, Macy Chiasson has lost her way a little bit over the last sort of couple of years, dating back to this fight against Lena Landsberg, to the point where I believe she was like a 1.10 favourite against Landsberg, or at least a 1.10 favourite against Shayna Young, an absolutely huge favourite. And that just represents how skilled Macy Chiasson was when she first came into the UFC. But you know what they say, man? Well, George St. Pierre said fighting is 90% mental. And there's something going on with Macy Chiasson at the moment where she just doesn't seem to have the same fire that she had when she came into the UFC. There's something very much lacking there. Now, I'm not saying she can't get that back this weekend against Marion Reneau. But what I am saying is when you look at Marion Reneau, she is just one of these fighters that has built a career on toughness, work rate, and just hustle, man. She's just got that warrior spirit. Where we look at, both these fighters in terms of where they are mentally, that for all of Marion Reneau's weaknesses, both physically and technically, Reneau is always going to show up and fight to win. She's always going to show up and do her best. She's always going to show up aggressive, tough, and ready to scrap. Whereas I don't feel that's the case with Macy Chiasson. I feel like with Chiasson, over the last sort of couple of years, we've seen her accept being put in bad positions, look quite weak off her back, look quite physically weak when trying to get her opponents to the ground as well. And these were all things that were not present on her come up on The Ultimate Fighter. Chiasson at one point did look to be like one of the best female bantamweights in the world. And in her last two fights, even in her win over Shayna Young, she has looked a shadow of herself. So, fighting is 90% mental. Chiasson has got all the technical ability to win this fight easily. She's got age on his side. She's got, the size and reach on his side. But mentally, I think Reneau can beat her mentally and out-tough her here and kind of out-veteran her. And so, with both these girls likely to go to a decision because of how tough they both are, I think Reneau to win by decision is a great bet. 5.0 plus 400. Very nice risk to reward ratio. So we now go on to the next one. And I would say this is probably my favourite. I would say this is probably my favourite prop bet. So please don't confuse favourite with confident. I'm not confident in any of these bets. I'm really not. I think that these bets are all long shots. But when I say this is my favourite bet, I'm talking in terms of risk to reward ratio. So I don't feel particularly confident that Montserrat Ruiz is going to win this fight by submission. But I do think that Montserrat Ruiz to win by submission at odds of 13.0 plus 1,200 is absolutely insane value. Just because of how these girls match up from a stylistic point of view. There's a great risk to reward ratio with this bet, even if it is quite likely to lose. So, the reason why I like Montserrat Ruiz to win this fight by submission is, first of all, because she is an Eddie Bravo purple belt. If we scroll through her Instagram, you can see here that Eddie Bravo is awarding Montserrat Ruiz her purple belt. And, I often get guys come into my comment section when I'll say things like Thiago Santos is a bad MMA grappler, or when I'll say Jan Blachowicz is a bad MMA grappler. And I'll often get guys slide into my comments and be like, how can you say Thiago Santos is a bad grappler when I checked his Wikipedia profile and it tells me Santos has a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And the thing is, not all black belts are created equal. A purple belt under a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu instructor like Eddie Bravo counts for a hell of a lot more than a lot of black belts. I rate a purple belt under Eddie Bravo as way higher than most black belts. As an example, Mayra Bueno Silva is a black belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. We saw her recently and how bad she looked on the ground against Montana De La Rosa. Give me an Eddie Bravo purple belt over the average black belt any day of the week, because a purple belt under Eddie Bravo means that this girl is seriously tricky on the ground. It means she's quite nasty on the ground. If we look at Cheyenne Bays, we can see that if we scroll through her profile, where are we? Here we go. I do not know who this gentleman is, Uncle Tony BJJ, but you can see here, in November 2020, which was only 5 months ago, Cheyenne Bays is rocking her blue belt. No disrespect to this gentleman here, no disrespect to Fortis MMA, but Fortis MMA isn't a very good gym. It's on the lower tier of MMA gyms. I would bundle it into a gym like Extreme Couture, where fighters that go to Fortis MMA don't tend to improve that much. Some of them actually decline, and it just isn't a very good gym to improve as a young fighter. It's put on a pedestal. UFC commentators talk about it very highly. UFC analysts and pundits talk about it very highly. I'm sure the other cappers that you listen to on YouTube may talk about Fortis MMA very highly, but from my experience, I do make a lot of money betting on MMA. I can tell you Fortis MMA is a little bit of a bargain basement gym, and their fighters just don't really tend to progress very much. And so when I see a fighter like Cheyenne Bays, blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, going up against an Eddie Bravo purple belt, Ruiz, if this fight goes to the ground, Ruiz could give Cheyenne Bays absolute hell. And when I've gone and watched some of Bays' past fights, a good number of them have ended up on the ground. And on the ground, there's nothing wrong with her ground game, but it's very, very rudimentary. I think if Ruiz has got that really fast, offensive, attack-minded jiu-jitsu that we see from Eddie Bravo guys, and she starts attacking Bays with some funky shit on the ground, Bays at Fortis MMA is unlikely to have developed the level of skills required to deal with the threat that an Eddie Bravo purple belt may be throwing at her on the ground. Of course, Montserrat Ruiz is very small. She's 5 foot tall with a 61-inch reach. So we were just saying that Marion Reneau is the second oldest fighter in the UFC underneath Alexei Olenek. At 5 foot tall with a 61-inch reach, Montserrat Ruiz is by far the smallest fighter in the UFC. So it will be very difficult for Ruiz to get this fight to the ground. But if she does get the fight to the ground, like I say, no disrespect to that gentleman on Cheyenne Bays' Instagram, this dude here, but he's not Eddie Bravo. And if these two girls go to the ground, I think Ruiz could cause Bays some big trouble. So this is my favourite prop. Not my most confident prop, because with the size difference, I do think it'll be hard for Ruiz to take Bays down and hold her down. But Ruiz to win by submission at 13.0, it is crazy talk. Now into the next one, Adrian Yanez against Gustavo Lopez. So I'm going to go for Gustavo Lopez to win by knockout or TKO at odds of 7.5 plus 650. I absolutely love Adrian Yanez. I love Adrian Yanez. I love his style. He reminds me of a young Jorge Masvidal. He's very fast. He's very aggressive. Beautifully fluid striking. But the one thing about Adrian Yanez, a little bit like Jorge Masvidal, is that this guy absolutely loves to rely on his chin. This guy loves to just pressure his opponents into a range where they feel compelled to exchange with him to back him up. And that's where he does his best work, because he's such a great boxer. Unfortunately, when you put yourself in a position to finish your opponent, you also put yourself in a position to be finished. And Gustavo Lopez is just one of these guys with abnormal power for the division. I don't know what it is about this guy because he's very small. Gustavo Lopez is very undersized for a bantamweight at 5'5". He should probably be fighting at flyweight. But for whatever reason, this dude, Gustavo Lopez, hits like a truck. Major power in his hands. And because Adrian Yanez likes to bait his opponents into exchanging and relies a little bit on it, too much on his chin so he can catch him with big counters, I think it will be dangerous to get into exchanges with Lopez because of how hard he hits. And so I really like Lopez to win by knockout or TKO here because you could bet your ass both these guys are going to be involved in a firefight, and very, very likely one of these fighters goes to sleep. Personally, I think it's more likely that Yanez wins by knockout or TKO. But if we look at the odds, Yanez to win by knockout or TKO is barely better than even money. So, not a very good risk to reward ratio. If these boys are going to go toe to toe, play rock'em sock'em robots, and one of them is going to get knocked out, and we know Lopez has got major power, I'd much rather be betting the guy at odds of 7.50 than 2.10 because you're getting a much better risk to reward ratio, even though this bet winning is less likely over the long term. You keep getting your money into positions like that, and you could put a chart together like this where you make a long-term profit. Okay, into the next one. And another very good prop here. Actually, you know what? I did say that Montserrat Ruiz to win by submission at odds of 13.0 was my favorite prop. I changed my mind. This is my favorite prop. Leonardo Santos to win by knockout or TKO at odds of 7.50 plus 650. I absolutely love this prop. The reason why I love this prop is because Grant Dawson has absolutely no striking at all. He can't throw a punch. He has no power in his hands. He has no chin. He has no striking defense. He has nothing. So long as this fight is standing, he will be at constant risk of getting knocked out. Leonardo Santos has got, great Muay Thai, vicious knees, great kicks, brilliant counter striking. He's knocked out Kevin Lee. He hurt Roman Bogotov big time in his last fight. He knocked out Stevie Ray. We know how tough Stevie Ray is. Leonardo Santos is very, very dangerous standing. And this is a difficult fight for Grant Dawson because Dawson gets into trouble standing up against everyone. But the way that Dawson usually survives the adversity that he goes through standing is that he uses grappling to take them down. Problem with this is, most people think of Leonardo Santos as being a striker because most of his fights stay standing. But Leonardo Santos is actually an extremely high-level grappler. He competed in ADCC a very long time ago. He's an ultra-high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, and he's been one of the instructional coaches at Nova União for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu for a very long time. So Leonardo Santos has, taught some of the best fighters of all time, their Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu game. Guys like Renan Barão, Jose Aldo, Junior Dos Santos, Claudia Gadeja, Hakron Diaz. These are the guys that Leonardo Santos has helped to shape their career alongside, Master Andre Pederneiras. So this is a very tricky fight because Santos has an enormous advantage standing up against Grant Dawson. And if the fight goes to the ground, Santos is more than capable of dealing with Dawson on the ground. And on top of that, what do we know about Nova União fighters? Nova União fighters have phenomenally good takedown defense. They're almost impossible to take down even when they get tired. And so it won't be easy for Dawson to get this fight to the ground and buy himself some time if he's struggling standing. Of course, the big issue here is that Father Time is undefeated. Father Time catches up with everyone. Just like we were talking about with Marion Reneau, Leonardo Santos is 41 years old. So, he does slow down a lot as the fight goes on. But he can cause Dawson hell early. This is basically going to come down to can Dawson weather that early storm? If he can, he's likely to do very well. If he can't, he's at significant risk of getting knocked out. I absolutely love this bet. Okay, and then the final prop. Okay, we can leave them up. So I'll do a little bit of a Q&A after this. I'll do a little bit of a Q&A after this. So if you want to ask me any questions, man, drop it in the Twitch chat, drop it in the chat on my website, or or just you know, drop it in Twitch, and I'll go through all the questions in a second. So any questions you want to drop in, just drop them in, man, while I talk about this last one. So this last one's really simple. I love Max Griffin to win in round 3 at odds of 16.0, plus 1,500. Not because Griffin's particularly dangerous. We can see here, if we look at Griffin's record, we can see that, you know, the vast majority of his fights since he came into the UFC have gone to a decision. This guy is very much a decisionator. However, Kenan Song's gas tank is absolutely terrible. This guy's gas tank just fucking leaves the building like Elvis in round 2. This guy's cardio completely falls off a cliff in round 2. And so, because Griffin's a bit of a cardio machine, pushes a very high pace, you know, if Griffin comes out in round 1, forces Song to work hard, very likely Song will fade very hard towards the end of the fight, and in that 3rd round could possibly be too tired to defend himself, which would open the door for Griffin to get a finish in round 3. It's as simple as that. Hope you enjoyed those props. I will leave them up in the background for guys joining the stream late to be able to tail. Drop your questions into the chat, and I'll answer as many as I can. Before I do that, I just want to kind of double check what time this event starts so that we don't miss the start. And let's see what we've got. Has it started already? It hasn't, right? Starts in an hour. Where is it? Just want to make sure I don't miss the start. Where the fuck is where has it started?
I think
hasn't started yet, right? Hasn't started yet. Guys, let me know on my website, right, if let me know on my website if the fights start, and I will scramble. Guys, could someone on my website tell me what time the fights start? How long? Maybe in the live betting chat, people are already in there. Oh, this reminds me as well. I'm getting loads of emails from people who want to join live betting. Obviously, the live betting group is full at the moment, but I have created a waiting list system. I actually did this today. Sorry for the shitty layout. I will fix this on Monday. If you do want to join the live betting group, though, just fill your details into this form, and you'll basically receive an email when the memberships come back in stock. So I'll drop that in YouTube. If you do want to join our live betting group at some point, just pop your details on that page. Alright, so um 30 minutes, 45. All right, 30 minutes. Right, we'll get some quick questions through, and then I'm gonna go run off and get ready for live betting. Nice one, guys. All right, cool. All right, what have we got? Let's have a look at the magical Twitch. What is up? What's up, Cyfix? What's up, Rivers of Red? What's up, Whiskey? All right, no real questions on the Twitch. What about for the YouTubes? Have a quick scroll through. D-Man, I don't personally bet accumulators myself, mate. I'm not a fan of accumulators. Cash the Bet is saying prop bets are like penny or dollar slots. That's a really good way of putting it, mate. I like that. Yes, so Gold Caps is saying, do we really need a walkthrough on what a prop bet is every video? Yes, you do. Because, you know, new people join every video that haven't been here before. Oh, nice one, Booch for Snooch. Cheers, dude. Reese Tomlinson's. Yeah, man, that fight. Gregor fight's cancelled, right, dude? Broadcastville is saying, aren't you worried by Dolidze's grappling? So, Dolidze definitely has a big advantage over Trevin Giles when it comes to grappling. But the thing with Dolidze is he doesn't really have grappler's cardio. So if you go back and watch Dolidze's past fights, whenever Dolidze has used any grappling for any meaningful period of time, he tends to gas out really bad. So Dolidze does have a big advantage over Giles when it comes to grappling, but I don't think Dolidze has the gas tank to actually make it count, if that makes sense. Because if Dolidze does come in with a grappling heavy game plan, he's just going to burn himself out. So yes, to answer your question, like please don't think I'm betting Giles. Like I don't think Giles is going to win. I'm not betting Giles. I don't like Giles. You know, I think Roman Dolidze and Trevin Giles are two very flawed fighters. All I'm saying is I would prefer to bet on Trevin Giles if you hold a gun to my head out of the two guys, because I'd much rather bet on a guy like Trevin Giles that can at least perform to his full potential for 15 minutes than a guy like Dolidze that has to manage every single little piece of exertion, because he knows if he works too hard at any point in the fight, he's going to gash really bad. So I'm not trying to like sell you on Giles. I'm not high on Giles. I'm not betting Giles. I don't think Giles is going to win. But if you fucking pinned me against the wall and said, I'm going to shoot you in the face unless you bet this fight and get it right, I would much rather have money on Trevin Giles. But if I have a choice, I would not bet that fight. Stephen Hartley is saying, I wonder if Joe Rogan is a real Eddie Bravo black belt or if he bought it. I think he's the real deal, dude. I'm pretty sure it took Joe Rogan like 8 years, something like that, to get awarded his black belt in the Eddie Bravo. So Eddie made him work for it. And I think it is one of those things. Obviously, Eddie Bravo and Joe Rogan are men of great integrity, right? So Eddie Bravo wouldn't want to, put his brand or his credibility in jeopardy, dishing out black belts to people that didn't deserve it, and I don't think Rogan comes across as the kind of guy that would want Eddie to compromise his standards either, because obviously when you get a black belt, brown belt, blue belt, whatever, it's a sense of achievement, right? The fun, the challenge is in the chase. And then you get the belt, and it's a great rewarding feeling. I could buy a black belt off eBay right now. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't mean anything. So yeah, I think Rogan's probably as legit an Eddie Bravo black belt as it gets. Parlon saying, just saying, but there's a betway booster if Tuivasa, Holland, and Griffin which win. Some typos in there, dude. I'm not too sure what you mean. Caleb Dowling saying, was really looking forward to Riddell Gillespie. Yeah, me too, man. Me too, mate. I had some big bets on Gillespie, dude. Sucks. Chris Nelson's asking about NFTs. Do you know what, dude? I haven't really got an opinion on NFTs, mate. I think I'm just getting old. Like, I'm 37 years old. I got a 12-year-old son. And when I see stuff like NFTs, mate, it's just a sign that I'm getting old. Just a sign that I'm getting old, mate. I just don't see why people would... I just don't see, like, the value in NFTs, really, if I'm being honest with you. But I'm of this strong opinion that if I don't understand something, I just don't fucking go there. Like, if I can't swim... I'm not going to give my opinion on, a lifeguard. I just don't know about NFTs, mate. It's a bit weird to me. I don't really understand why people would put money into it, because it's very illiquid. You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why you would buy why you would buy NFTs when there may not necessarily be a market in the future for what you're buying, if that makes sense, in terms of, you know, things that are hot right now might not be hot in 2 years, right? So instead of putting money into an NFT, why would you not just put money into like an electrical vehicle company or a solar company or a US gambling stock or, you know, a big data company like Palantir, you know, or, you know, a new tech company, new social media platform? I don't know why you would ever buy NFTs when you could just like invest money in, you know, a new biotech company or a 3D printing company. It just doesn't make much sense to me. We know that those businesses will shape the future. They'll shape the world. With NFTs, you don't know there's going to be a market in 6 months' time for whatever niche you're purchasing the NFT in, let alone, you know, 10, 15, 20 years' time. So I just don't get the whole NFT thing. But I'm not going to criticize it because I just think I'm a little bit old, 37 years old. I'm a dinosaur. I'll stick to cage fighting and stocks. And hopefully houses soon. Want to start buying some houses soon. Not this year, probably not next year, maybe the year after. I'll stick to the boring shit. Wade L is saying, any chance in the Jackson fight goes the distance? It's possible because Jackson does at times lack that killer instinct. But Strader does have pretty bad cardio, so, you know, if Jackson wants to finish him in the second and third, he should be able to quite easily. AZ is saying Dawson or Santos. Santos has got a much better risk to reward ratio, mate. I think that's doggo pass for sure. Yeah, Dolidze has a chance of tapping in for sure, broadcastful, mate. It's just, Dolidze does tend to favour ground and pound, to be fair. Zachary is saying, do you ever make real lottery parlays and bet all the fights? No, mate, but I should. Mostly comes down to time for me, mate. I usually just run out of time and forget. But I am taking DraftKings very seriously because with DraftKings, I'm just basically sick of getting shut down by betting sites. Do you know what I mean? It just pisses me off. Like, this is why I'm getting involved in like stocks and stuff, because it's demoralizing to, you know, make a good profit on a betting account, keep consistently growing your account balance and making money, and then having the betting site shut your account down. That's very frustrating to me, which is why I'm drawn to these high liquidity markets where you can earn very, very large sums of money without being shut down by anyone. So I'm not doing the parlay thing, but I am really diving deep into DraftKings at the moment and trying to crack DraftKings, because obviously with DraftKings you're just playing against other people. DraftKings is the middleman, and so, you know, you could have great success on DraftKings and not worry about being shut down. Broadcastful is saying, what do you think about Holland's tendency to stay on his back for way too long and lose rounds easily? I think Holland's chaos, mate. I think with a guy like Holland, you never know what you're going to get from him, right? The guy is chaos. Wouldn't surprise me if he came out, gave up weak takedowns in every round and lost a 50-45 decision to Brunson. The guy's a knucklehead. Master Bates, will you take the COVID jab? Probably. My wife had it yesterday. Mark Koval is saying, all my investments in NFTs. Good luck, dude. It'll be forced on you eventually. It probably will be, man. Maybe I'm just a dinosaur that doesn't get it. You know, it was the same with crypto. I had people telling me back in, you know, 2015, 2016, you know, even 2014 that I should be buying crypto, and I ignored them and then missed out on those huge gains during the first altcoin run back in 2016/2017. So yeah, I could definitely be making the same mistake with NFTs, because back then I didn't get altcoins. To be honest, I still don't really get altcoins, if I'm honest. I think they're also a complete waste of time. You know, yeah, I could be wrong with NFTs for sure, man. I don't really have an opinion on them. I just think I'm getting old. 37 years old, man. I'm a dinosaur. Nice one, Wade. Cheers, mate. Yeah, I think it is starting. I think it is starting in 15 minutes. Raj Kavaka. Yeah, so with that, mate, let's get it going. Time to live bet now. Nice one, Robinson. Cheers, dude. Nice one, mate. Nice one, man. Yeah, do you know what, Kanye? That is one thing I forgot to mention. You know, we've been talking a lot about Trevin, Giles and Dolidze. I completely forgot to mention that I did write this bet in earlier in the week before I saw the stare downs. I feel a lot less confident in Trevin Giles now with the size difference. Dolidze towered over him and looked absolutely fucking massive at the weigh-in stare downs. So that does give Dolidze another big advantage. I don't have an opinion on that fight, man. I really don't. I don't feel confident either way. Anyway, thank you for watching, everybody. And yeah, man, I will see you guys. I'll see you guys soon. I'll see you guys next week. Have a great week, guys. I should have the UFC 260 breakdown video up earlier than usual because I've already researched 4 fights on that card. So nice one, everyone. Love you, boys. Take care. Good luck for tonight, guys. I hope you crush it, man. It's a tough card tonight, right? It is a hard one. It's tricky, especially with Gillespie, Riddell getting cancelled. Gillespie was like a rock solid bet, but it's a little bit harder now. But anyway, hope you crush it anyway. Take care, everyone.